Ollie was taking the stairs down from his apartment just to get a little exercise when he heard crying coming from up the stairs. It sounded like a child crying. So Ollie turned around and went upstairs to see if there's anything that he could do to help. He got 2 floors above where, the level his apartment was at. And he could tell the crying was coming from just the other side of the door into the hallway. So he opened the door, and there indeed was a kid, about 7 or 8 years old, and she was crying. I said, "Hey, Beatrice, right?" And the kid looked up and said, "Oh, hi, Mr. Ollie." I said, "What's wrong, kiddo?" He said, "My hamster escaped, and I can't find him. I'm scared." I said, "Oh, no. Maybe I can help. That's no fun. Where did you see the hamster last?" "I had it here in the hallway. I'm not supposed to take it out into the hallway, but I just had it in my hand, and then I heard a noise. And so I opened the door and looked, and then it slipped out of my hand, and it ran down the hall." I looked, and they were sort of near the corner, like the apartments did turn a corner. And I said, "Okay, well, there's no time to lose. We should start looking. Are you sure it didn't come back, toward where I came from?" I said, "No, I've been watching. I wasn't sure what to do." "All right, here's what I think. Let's open the door to your apartment and put in the door stop or something to keep the door open. 'Cause that way, what's the hamster's name?" "Martin." "Okay, because then if Martin comes back, if he sneaks past us somehow, he can at least get back in. I don't know how much they recognize their home, but it could help." "Okay, yeah." And Beatrice went and, put a door stop in so the door would stay open. "All right, let's follow it this way. I, I, I'm not supposed to leave my apartment. It's okay for me to be in the hallway, but I'm not supposed to go anywhere." I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. You stay here, and you just look for Martin. I'll see what I can do." So I headed down the hallway. I thought, "Oh, shoot. I don't actually know much about how to catch a hamster." He looked at the bottoms of the doors, because he knew that hamsters, like other rodents, can get into some pretty tiny places. But he also was pretty sure that unlike, say, a mouse or a rat, especially a feral mouse or rat, or a wild mouse or rat, domestic tame hamsters wouldn't necessarily run away from people. They liked people just fine, actually. But as I looked, the bottoms of the doors, they were tight to the ground. There was a little rubber sweep and everything. Nothing much bigger than an ant could get through there. Maybe not even an ant. So I figured he was looking for, well, either the hamster to be just casually checking out the hallway or some other little nook or cranny. It occurred to Ollie then that as an octopus, he was also very good at getting into tight spaces. And as a detective, pretty good at getting out of them. He walked along. Then he saw something a little unusual. Someone had spilled paint in the hallway. Luckily, the floor of this floor in the hallway was a concrete floor, so it wasn't carpeted. They were actually changing the carpets all throughout the building, and this one was up, which was lucky, because a paint spilled on a carpet is a much bigger deal than paint spilled on a concrete floor. But it's still a pretty big mess, and all I could see tracks leading past the paint spill. Looked like animal tracks. Ollie went over and carefully stepped over the paint spill, and he looked down at the tracks. And they did look like animal tracks. But they were big. How big is a hamster, Ollie thought? Didn't encounter a lot of hamsters, mice, and rats, sure, but he hadn't really done much with hamsters. That in my head, Ollie thought to himself, a hamster is smaller than a baseball. Maybe twice as big as a golf ball? I looked around and there wasn't anybody to ask. I didn't want to backtrack. I figured that the longer the hamster stayed lost, the harder it was going to be to find it. So he followed the tracks. And he realized that if there was a rodent that fit the tracks that he was following, it was pretty big. Because the feet on the tracks were maybe as big around as the end of a tennis racket or a little smaller than that. Like the size of a little bigger than a dollar coin. And you translate that to a rodent's proportions, and that's got to be a big hamster. I was trying to picture the thing, and I realized that he was going to struggle to catch such a thing. How do you even carry it? So he was walking along, following the tracks. It was kind of a long hallway. And he realized he was right outside of another kid that he knew, a kid named Brian. And Brian had a hobby of fishing and butterfly catching. Well, I knocked on the door. Brian was a little older. He was about 12. And Brian answered and said, "Oh, hey, Ollie. What you up to?" "I am trying to trap a hamster." "Oh, that's cool. Oh, man, someone made a mess in the hallway." "Yes. Can I borrow a sturdy net?" "Oh, yeah, sure." And he walked over to the closet, got out a net, and handed it to Ollie. "What are you trying to catch?" A hamster? But I'm not sure at the moment how big a hamster is, because these paw prints are pretty big." And Brian looked down and said, "Those are big. Here, let me give you a different net. That one might be a little too flimsy. I gave you my butterfly net, but here, take this. This is the one I use for fish." "Thanks. Do you want some backup?" "Sure," Ollie said. So the two of them followed the tracks. The tracks were getting closer together. Like the hamster was slowing down. Maybe it was getting nervous about, being too far away from its apartment. And they came around the corner. They saw the tracks were sort of bunched up, like it had paced around or something. Ollie was getting nervous. He'd done a lot of strange things, but catch some giant rodent with a fishing net was not on it. Ollie whispered, "I think it's just around the corner. I think I hear something." Brian said, "Yeah, I hear something too. Sounds like it's about 1.5 feet around the corner. And your pole's about 2 feet long, so I bet you could grab it. If you pop around the corner and then lift it down." I said, "Okay, I'll try it." So Ollie readied himself, had the net up high, with one arm, 2 arms ready to jump, and another 4 ready to catch him. And he leapt around the corner. Ollie had just a split second to understand what he was seeing, because a few more painty paw prints led up to the back of a furry thing, but that furry thing was no hamster. It was a cat. But another foot beyond the cat, looking nervous as it skittered around near the door, was a hamster. And I realized right away that the hamster was in danger. I thought fast, and he swooped the net down on the cat. The cat yelled and complained, but Ollie held the net firm. The hamster darted by, And Brian scooped it up. Okay, little buddy. Okay, little buddy. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. When he pet the hamster. The hamster was quite scared, but it also, you know, seemed to like being up high, up near Bobby's chest. Bobby said, "What are you going to do now? That cat, I mean, the cat lives here in the building." I said, "Yeah, now that I see it, I've seen this cat before. I think it lives on the third floor. I don't know, but it looks pretty mad." I said, "It does look mad." Um, well, do you know Beatrice? Oh, yeah, around sort of near the stairwell, right? Little kid, like, I don't know, younger than me? I said, "Yeah, it's our hamster, right?" "Exactly." "And she's probably still waiting right outside her apartment door, pretty upset. Can you go take the hamster back to her? The hamster's name is Martin." "I would be happy to, Ollie. What are you going to do?" "I haven't figured that out yet. But let's get the hamster safe." So Brian trotted off, the hamster in tow. A minute or so later, I heard a happy squeal echoing down the hallway and figured that Beatrice must have Martin back. But now he had to figure out what to do with an angry cat under a net. The cat was staring daggers at Ollie, and he figured that if he let go of the net, if he let the net up, the cat was going to come after him. It's trying to come after him anyway. He looked around, thought about what he could do, and he noticed that they'd come around the whole side of the building, so they were now near the other stairwell. This could work, Ollie said. Ollie slowly spun the thing around. He moved because the cat was on one wall, and he carefully walked all the way around, holding the net down like a big clock hand. And he scooted until he was right by the door, with the cat still underneath the net the whole time and not happy about the situation. I was just about to make a leap for it when Bobby came around the corner. Brian, rather. "All clear, Ollie. Beatrice and Martin are back in their apartment. What's your plan?" "I think I'm going to jump into the stairwell and close the door before the cat attacks me." "Oh, okay. I might go back to my apartment then. Can you wait till you hear the sound of the door closing? I'll come and get my net later." I said, "Sure." So Brian trotted off. I heard the doors slam shut. So he reached up with one of his arms and pressed the little, doorknob thing and opened the door, still holding the net down while getting as much of his body into the stairwell as possible. At the last possible second, he swooped and pulled the rest of his body into the stairwell, letting go of the net, and closed the door and climbed up so he could see through the window. The cat knew it was free and yowled and tossed off the net. It got a little bit turned up in the net. Then it pounced at the door, but the door was shut. Ollie heard some meowing and rowling, and then saw the cat slink off dejectedly. Whew, I thought, all right. He almost started his way downstairs, till he realized that if the cat was on the wrong floor, then the cat had a way to get between floors. I did not feel like tangling with the cat, so he ran down the stairs as quickly as he could, got out of the lobby, and got out of the building. Sure enough, just after he got through the doors, he looked back and saw the cat prowling its way out of the other stairwell. Ollie thumbed his nose. Well, he doesn't have a nose or a thumb, but you get the idea. Ollie made a face at the cat and went across and sat down heavily at the cafe across the street. The waiter came up and said, "Ollie, it looked like you've had a harrowing adventure. You're just leaving your apartment." I said, "I have. and I could really use a cup of coffee. And that was the story of Elsa and the hamster. Or Ollie and the hamster.